Today's soup comes from Maramures, the northern region of Romania, something my mom used to make from time to time, and this is my own version with a bit of that kitchen draft touch. For this recipe you need 500 grams of dry haricot beans, and no matter from where you buy them, make sure you spread them evenly on a flat surface in a single layer, so you can see any bad beans that might be among the good ones. In most situations there are not many, so this shouldn't cause you much hassle, so make sure you don't skip this step, you don't want any bad beans into your soup. Get this into a bowl and add a good amount of water, 2-3 times comparing to the beans. Soaking them in water, soften the dry beans preparing them for cooking. 5 hours of soaking should definitely do the job. Cover the bowl with a cloth for the time being, and let's move on to the rest of the ingredients. We have here a great selection of vegetables. 1 parsnip, 4-5 carrots, a red bell pepper, a quarter of celeriac, something that is quite popular in Romanian soups, a bunch of parsley, which to be honest is more of a substitute because I couldn't find parsley roots, but if you find, that's what you should go for, and a bit of chili, 1 chili to be more precise, for a bit of an extra kick. First, get the onion peeled, but try to keep it together without removing much of the bottom of it, because this doesn't get chopped. It will go into the soup the way it is and it will get removed eventually, but it's more for flavor than anything else. With the garlic, simply peel it and crush it slightly with the blade of the knife. Moving on to the red bell pepper. Pushing the core, remove the seeds as good as you can and simply rip it apart in 3-4 pieces, there is no chopping needed. When you get to the carrots, chop them into slightly bigger chunks. Because there will be a longer period of cooking, by keeping them at this size you ensure that they are not turning into mush. Split the thick end of the parsnip with 2 simple cuts, nothing complicated here, and get the celeriac cut in the same size as the carrots. Since we've not found any parsley roots at the market, we are using parsley leaves. That's not that big of an issue because the flavors are pretty much the same, but instead of having to fish them individually from the soup, tie them together with a thick cotton string, and this way removing them towards the end of cooking will be a lot easier. To this big pile of vegetables we are adding 3 bay leaves. These work very well with the soup and pretty much with everything being related. Meat-wise we are using smoked ribs. There are quite a few options out there, but it has to be smoked, and in my opinion it should have some bone in there, not just meat, because from the bone is where all the flavor is coming from. The ribs can be chopped into your preferred size. These are pre-boiled, so even leaving them in big chunks will not be a problem when it comes to cooking. 5 or 6 hours later the beans are double in size, absorbing a lot of their water and getting a lot softer due to the hydration process, making it a lot easier for cooking and faster for boiling. Set a large pot on the heat that can take all the ingredients we prepared so far, plus others that we're gonna be adding later. The parsley string will get tied by the handle of the pot, and now you can go ahead with the beans, obviously without the water. At this point you can add the smoked ribs, and I know in other situations we would add chicken or vegetable stock, but now you can simply add water, because there are plenty of vegetables and goodness to extract flavor from, so water will definitely do the job. When you have all the ingredients covered in about 1 inch of water, you can add the seasoning. Salt about 1 tablespoon, but this will depend a lot on how salty the smoked meat is. Follow with a quarter of teaspoon of black pepper, get the lid on, and we are to cook this for about 2 hours. Meanwhile, in a large bowl add 500 ml of sour cream, and if you think that this looks a lot, well, my mom would add even more, but I think that this is just fine. To the sour cream we are also adding 1 egg yolk. This tends to thicken the soup together with 2 tablespoons of white flour. Get the whisk in action and make sure you combine this together until you end up with a homogeneous consistency. We are getting closer to 2 hours of simmering. At this point we can remove some of the vegetables that we added in just to get some extra flavor to the soup. Get out the onion, untie the parsley string, it's done its job, same applies for the parsnip and the red bell pepper. The beans are definitely cooked by now, and to be honest, for my taste, slightly overcooked, but that's not that big of an issue. We are now adding 3 tablespoons of dehydrated vegetable mix. This has all sorts of goodness inside and all natural. This can obviously be done homemade when the vegetables are in full season. This particular one is not, but still a great alternative. At this point you can add in the sour cream mix, but just before you chuck it into the pot, try to bring it closer to the soup temperature by adding 4-5 ladles of hot liquid into the bowl. By doing this you will reduce the risk of having the sour cream curdle because of the major temperature difference. Go ahead and put in the sour cream mixture, and once this has been added, get in 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. And now you need to cook that flour, so bring the bean soup to the simmer and cook for further 2 minutes. Traditionally, our bean soup would be served with a side order of white onion. For this you need 1 peeled white onion, no chopping, no slicing needed. The onion goes straight into a clean kitchen cloth and simply smash it with the palm of your hand. This creates some sort of chemical reaction that gives to this onion a better flavor. This side of onion will work perfectly with the soup. Add salt and pepper, a touch of vegetable oil, and a splash of white wine vinegar. This is my own version of Romanian bean soup with smoked ribs. Bear in mind that Romania is a big country, so the recipe or the ingredients can differ a lot from one place to another. If it happens that you enjoyed this content, make sure you give it a thumbs up and check the sour cabbage rolls that are on the screen right now. A delicious recipe. See you in the next one.